Since a little over a year now, I've been pretty consistently making some decent money each weekend, listing what I've built over the week or even on a Saturday to sell by the end of the weekend. I'm not getting rich from this, but it pays for all my tools, a lot of the restaurant visits, and generally making life easier and more enjoyable without affecting my household budget. I've had comments saying that electricity costs as well as blades and other associated costs make making profits from such sales nearly impossible. I'll show you in this video how I can make $100 from zero costs in materials. For those who can't access such free materials, a single 2x10 should be enough to recreate this project I'm about to make. Working with reclaim and palletwood, I have to choose what I can use, plane it, clean it, and square it, but most of those steps I need to do with bought rough lumber or even more construction lumber. That's my first step, then I rip it down to the sizes needed. Much cheaper than buying 1x2s for such piece of wood from the stores. Hard to beat $0. Now that I have all my parts, it's time to get building. I have 1x2s, 2x2s, and a big 2x10 that I cut to 39 inches, the length of my project today. The main frame will be made out of 2x2 parts, 6 times 9 inches, 4 times 18 inches, and 2 times 30 inches. I used a paint can to trace corners on the 18-inch 2x2s. I used the jigsaw to cut most of it off, then used the disc sander to finalize it. This adds a nice detail to this project. I recently lined my vise with a sheet of cork that I got at the dollar store. I stuck it to the vise with Gorilla Glue spray. It's been working amazing. At this point in the project, I'm still only about an hour in, and I've spent $0. Making some profits from your weekend woodworking is easier when you get creative and add some detail, making something that looks like it costs money to make. Before assembling anything with glue, I line everything up, trace with a pencil where I need, and do everything now to avoid measuring and wasting time during assembly. This also gives me a much better result. No wobble, everything square and straight. One thing about my new workbench, more so its teak finish, that I love, is how easy it is to clean. I can wipe off most things easily, and if anything dries on it, I can just scrape it off with a chisel. I don't need to sand when re-oiling it, and it just works great and looks awesome. Here I'm pre-drilling holes to screw the pieces together. I will then drill with a bigger bit to finish with a dowel. That was not the right way to go. I should have drilled the bigger hole first, then the smaller hole. This avoids tear out, which I got in a few of those holes. Start with a larger hole, unlike what I did. My dowel is 5/16 of an inch, so I'm using a drill bit of the same size. To save some money on dowels, I have full-length ones of varying sizes. You can find those for very cheap at the hardware store, or even better, make them yourself with a drill jig. Add glue in the holes, pop in a dowel, and let everything dry. Later, I'll cut and sand them off flush. This time, in the right order, I pre-drilled the holes to assemble the two sides together with the 30-inch 2x2s. This piece of reclaimed 2x10 will be the top. It's already cut at 39 inches from earlier. Now I'm ripping down a thin slice on both sides to get it clean and as close to square as possible without using my joiner, which is a bit overkill for this project. Things are about to take shape. It's time to assemble the two sides together. This is the first time I make this, and at this point I'm still unsure about that top rounded part and how it will look once done. I love the final result now that I've seen it myself, and it gave me more ideas to make stuff with curves and more unique details. It helps catch the eyes you need for that one sale. I plan to sell this for $100. It might take a few days, but with proper care during the last finishing steps, it will look professional enough to get that price, while still being done by midday. When cutting dowels, make sure to cut them proud by about a 1/16 of an inch so you don't ruin the surface under. This is all softwoods and will be easy to sand super smooth and flush later. I do the surfaces with an electric sander and the corners and edges by hand. By getting it hand smooth now, you will save a lot of time and get a much nicer end result while staining and painting. I almost forgot to cut the shelf pieces to length. Before getting them sanded, cut all 8 of them to 39 inches. Same as earlier, I sand the edges and corners by hand, and the surfaces with the electric sander. Now for the fun part, weathering. I love taking old wood or new wood and making it look beat up. There's many ways to do that. Today I'm using the old jigsaw because I wouldn't do that to my new DeWalt one that was actually used for the first time in this video. I also use a hammer and a number 4 hand plane. Once stained, all those traces blend in and look great. I gave it a light sanding at 220 grit to even out the damage I did without removing it. I'm using a deck stain. This will protect the shoe rack and bench from damage. I guess you already knew from the thumbnail that this is what we're making. I want this to last whoever is buying it many years before the finish shows signs of wear. For the frame, I'm using black interior scrubbable paint. It has a matte finish which will look great with the brown slats. Speaking of keeping costs down, all my paints, I get them in the clearance section of the hardware store. They are sold for a fraction of their value because the client was not happy with the color or other issues at purchase. I measure and pre-drill the slats to align with the 2x2s. I'm using a countersink bit with a depth stopper with a 90-degree drill adapter to reach the tight spaces to screw them in. I'll leave links in the description on where to find those things. For the top, to account for the movement of the wood, I'm using 4 of those 90 degrees 2 screw brackets. It'll be plenty to hold this firmly while letting it move with the seasons. This is all done. I'm going to let it dry, take some photos in my living room, and get it up on the marketplace. I'm setting the price at $100, and from my experience, this will be gone by the weekend. Thanks for watching. Go and make something with reclaimed wood and make some money too.